Jerry Flowers. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, when I first met you, you can tell everyone that I'm not lying. I walked straight up to you and said, the only reason I'm at this dinner tonight is because I have been a Jerry Flowers fan forever.
He did.
And I wanted to meet you because I from the moment I laid eyes on you there, I'm like, there's something different about that guy. There's something. And I
In a
had
good
no
way, I
idea.
hope.
Well, yeah, and I had no idea how, but there was something about you that came through that I was just like, that guy. I knew if he and I just had the chance to be in the room together, you just sit back and you go, I could be friends with that guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Be friends with that guy. And that's the way I felt about you.
Well, I appreciate it, man. That was a good night. What was the restaurant called? It was a Italian place.
Little Joe's.
Yes, so good.
Isn't it amazing? Because I'm telling you, I have worked around buttons my entire life, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
all I do is all these different buttons and all this kind of stuff. And it has never been more than magic buttons to me. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. Back when we were still doing radio, the old radio, and you had this control board in front of you, and they would get you to train the new people. They never asked me to train the new people because the way I did it was so weird. But it worked for me, but it would not work for anybody else.
Yeah. I am really, really bad at it. I don't know why. I've just always been like that. I remember years ago, back when Brian Nutter was still playing guitar with Keith Urban, we had a rehearsal at SIR in Nashville, and something happened where our crew guys couldn't be there. I think they were coming in from somewhere else. So I walked in, and my all my speakers, my amps were there, and all the cables and everything were on top. And I literally had no idea how to even set my own stuff up. And so I get a picture later from Brian Nutter. He took a picture of me from behind, me just staring at all this pile because they thought it was so damn funny. I'm just not that guy. I'm old school.
But you know how it works, right? I mean, you know how the intrinsic way, you know how it works. You know how to get the sound that you're trying to get, especially in the music business. And that's all it is. You're trying to get a specific sound that you have understood. When did you pick up a guitar? When did you learn music? What was the first instrument?
12 years old. Bass. To my brother, he forced it on me because most people don't start with bass. My brother's an incredible guitar player named Randy Flowers, an awesome guitar player, but he needed accompaniment. So we had an acoustic guitar. He took the bottom two strings off and taught me that Def Leppard song, Photograph. That was my first song I ever learned. And,
I don't want your photograph.
I'm on. Still great. Yeah, so that was my first one. So he pretty much forced it on me. I had no choice in the matter.
Well, and the fact of it is, because I was, as I tell everybody, even my friends, and I consider you a friend, before you come on, I do research. I don't have any questions, but I know everything about you, baby. I know Virginia. West Virginia's their loss, and you go to Nashville and you turn 21 when you're in Nashville, and you're supposed to go to Australia for a month with this kid named Keith Urban. And here you are, you make Nashville, and then you leave, and then they lied to you and ended up being there 6 months. I mean,
6 months.
What an adventure.
Again, fresh from Pinch, West Virginia, tiny little town, maybe 2,000 people. So I moved to Nashville. My brother and I and our friend John Dedrick, we moved here. We had no idea what we were doing. So my brother started doing jingles at a place, playing guitar on jingles, and he met someone that said they had this friend from Australia that needed a bass player. Do you know anybody? And he said, well, yeah, my brother's a player. And so I went to Keith's house, and they had a little PA set up in the basement, and we played one or two songs. Then he said, you got a passport? And I was like, no. And he goes, well, we're going to get one. So we went to Australia. Again, it was supposed to be for a month. I didn't know them. I'd only met them a few weeks before that. Then it ended up being 6 months. There was no money, so we would have to be put in different people's houses every 2 weeks. So I wasn't even staying with them. I didn't know them, and I'm staying with all these new people. Every 2 weeks, they would put me with a new family or So it was an adventure for a 21-year-old.
But it's the best time to do it, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what I always tell kids. I've always said that my entire time when kids would be like, hey, I want to get in the music industry. And I'd be like, move to Nashville. Well,
Mm,
I don't know. Well, what do you got now? You're broke
yeah,
here. Why not be broke there?
exactly.
And you can't do it unless you're there. And so I'd always tell
Yeah.
them.
It's funny. I was writing with Dan Pellerin and an artist named Kaylee Green 2 days ago. Kaylee's a new artist on Sony Records, and she's just is what am I? Do you say records anymore? Sony. She's with Sony. Uh, incredible,
You and I both
incredible
go to
singer.
school, baby. It'll always be Sony Records to you and me.
I still call it like Warner Brothers. Um, and we were talking about that. That came up about it seemed like such a massive mountain to climb when you first come here and you think it's impossible, especially if you're from a really small town. But then you realize the longer you're here, like it's not that big of a business. And, everybody, you just need to find your people to kind of come up with at the same time, because you're not going to suddenly get here and start writing with Morgan Wallen. That's just not going to happen, but you need to create your own group. And it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Well, and you got to have the talent, and
Yeah.
you have got, honestly, you got to have nothing to lose. You either got to have no money or you got to have so much money, right? Remember that girl who came here, and it's not a besmirching of her because I thought she was a talented young lady, but her dad was an investment banker who was worth billions.
Right.
He's worth billions, and so she had no worries one way or the other. If you got nothing, you got nothing to lose. If you have everything, well, so what? What if Daddy spends $300,000 on me living in Nashville this year?
Yeah. Well,
So,
if you have everything when you move here, you're most likely not going to be willing to go through all the hard stuff that you're going to have to go through because it's going to be hard. I don't care who it is. It's going to be rough. And so if you don't have that hunger, you're not going to stay.
well, the rules have changed. I was literally talking to Hudson Westbrook the other day,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Brand new, right? Who's got that song out, House Again. Great song, great song. But for him, the rules have changed because he was at Texas Tech working in a feed store, and he posts a video and he gets 2 million things, and he goes, smallest crowd I've played to is 500 people. That's the smallest crowd I've played to. He goes, so that's where he goes, I'm not played because I told him, the whole story is you don't learn how to be a band till you play to a bartender. And that's the only place and he goes, I've never done that. 500 people is the fewest people we played from. And I said, well, that's its own kind of pressure. So you're living under a
Yeah.
different kind of pressure. So it has changed so much between you
Majorly.
and
Yeah. When the ranch got a record deal, made a record, finally started to come out. But what they would make these 3-song singles, cassettes, and they
yeah.
would send to every bar that we were going to play. And we were just 3 of us and our sound man Lee Barrett in a van, and we were all over the country just playing, bars. But they would send 2 weeks ahead of wherever we were going to play. The label would send these singles, and so they were hoping they would give them out for free, hoping somebody would show up. And there were a few. One was in not Arizona, New Mexico. I think it was Arizona. But we got to the club and literally not one person showed up. So it was us and the bartender. We sat there forever. And then the owner finally just said, screw it, you guys can go. And we didn't even play that night because nobody showed up. So that's a whole different thing. But, I'd rather have the 500 people, to be honest.
It's a different kind of pressure. And again, you hooked up. I tell you my Keith Urban story, and I told you I would save it until you and I did the podcast. So we had him out here at Tower Records, and nobody knew who the hell he was. I didn't know who he was, right? And we had him at Tower Records when there were still things called record stores. That's
Right.
another thing on, right?
So this was probably when he went solo. So that would probably be 99, maybe.
It was, I think, right when he had gone solo. Let me tell you
Yeah.
how when nobody knew who the hell he was, we had him at Tower Records for 2 hours. 4 people showed up. And so he and I walked around Tower Records, and I was giving him grief saying, is there like an Olivia Newton-John mafia? Do you owe her 10% of everything you do? And he's like, "What the hell?" This is how far down the totem pole he was.
Yeah.
He was supposed to play the saddle rack. The station people had gone out with the record guy to eat. They didn't come back. And I said, "Do you need a ride over to the saddle rack?" And he goes, "That'd be great." So I load him up and get him over there. It's on a Thursday night. He walks up on stage, and it's Thursday night about 8 o'clock. He walks up on stage and starts playing his guitar. Does not sing one note. Plays his guitar for 45 minutes. And the people finally shut up and start listening to this guy because he's a
Right.
virtuoso. He gets done, place is going crazy, never sings a note. He walks over to me and I said, "Dude, you're amazing." He goes, "Thanks, man." And I'm like, no, I expected you to suck so hard.
He's a special one. But it's funny, even guys that are as crazy talented as he is, and he is one of the best I've ever seen, still to this day. It still took him 10 years in Nashville before he had any kind of hit. Yeah, I think he was in his early 30s when he had his first hit. So it just goes to show you, it is not an easy business. It's a much different thing. Like we talked about, you can reach much more people now quickly. Well, we didn't have that option. We just had to
But
play clubs.
we still have that situation. I mean, look how long Lainey Wilson languished
Oh yeah.
for him. And Stapleton. Stapleton is the quintessential, been here forever, cult following in Nashville, and finally broke through.
We were doing some kind of label show at the Ryman a few years ago, and I saw Chris Stapleton there, and I remembered writing with him a long time ago, and he's never going to remember this. So I spoke to him. I said, "Hey, wouldn't remember me, but we wrote a song a long time ago." He goes, "Oh yeah, it was in 2004. It was called Caroline." Like, how do you remember that? So '04 is when I wrote with him, and he was awesome then too.
It's amazing to me how many times somebody told Chris Stapleton no. How many
Oh,
times somebody told Lainey Wilson no.
mm,
Think about it. Somebody listened to Ronnie Dunn and said, nah, I don't think
yes.
so.
We did so many showcases in the '90s where it was me and Keith, our drummer, Peter Clark, and we would play, and then we would hear that someone's supposed to come, like somebody from Giant Records. I remember Richard Landis came, and he was bringing, I can't remember, he was bringing the president of Giant to see us play. And we thought, this is it. We're going to make it. This is our time. And we're playing, and we see the president of Giant come in and thinking, like, this is our moment. He stays for like 2 minutes, just walks right out the door. And just does not, we never hear from him ever again. So that happened over and over and over and over again. So yeah, Laney, Chris Stapleton, like you think it wasn't like he just suddenly got good. He was
Yeah.
exactly the same. His voice sounded like that in 2004 when I wrote with him. Uh, Incredible. It just sometimes, I mean, this girl, this artist, Kaylee Green, that I wrote with 2 days ago, uh, saying she's been here 13 years, and the girl is insane. And the reason she's got a record deal is Keith. When we played the Bridgestone a few years ago, Keith wanted to do this little moment where he wanted to bring someone who sings on Broadway at one of the bars in Broadway to bring him up on stage, and so he picked her. I guess he saw a video of her singing in a bar. She got up, and this is her moment in front of 18,000 people, and she crushed it. I mean, it was unreal. The whole place went crazy. And then she got a record deal from that night. Because the A&R from Sony was at that show. But it's, she's 13 years in, and she is awesome.
That's the hard part that you tell people. And when you talk to these young artists, and it's like, yeah, I remember, and I've told this story before. Eric Church came to the radio station. Nobody knew who the hell Eric Church was. And we'd had him places nobody cared. Nate had him go stand in the parking lot, and we were on the air going, "Come by and say hello to Eric Church. He's a new artist star. We think he's really something. He's going to be something." And I walked outside to him, and he's standing in the parking lot, and it's a cloudy, kind of windy day. And I said, "Hey, man, you like David Allen Coe?" He looks at me and he goes, "Yeah." I said, well, if you're big star bound, let me warn you, it's a long, hard ride. And it is, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
so hard. And I remember I was watching an award show one time with my wife, and she goes, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You've got this huge smile on your face." And I said, "Baby, I've seen their struggles.
Mm.
I've seen how hard it is." And when they make it, even for that just moment, I had this conversation with Matt Stell when he first started out. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
dude, I know this is gonna be one of those things that you roll your eyes at me right now. And you won't do it in front of me, but you're inside. I know you're thinking this. I said, but if I can give you any advice, enjoy this. You're getting your shot.
Yeah.
You're getting your moment. And if it goes no farther than this, you got your shot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and love it. And because I can't tell you how many people that are playing bars in Crestview, Florida, who would love the opportunity to be in
Oh
the
yeah.
room with someone who got their shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Matt Stell, I got a good one about him. So I was hired by his label to, or maybe his management, to help put a band together for him and then help him put a show together. Have the set list and that kind of thing. So we did that. We worked it all up, and then later that year, we were playing a casino up north, and he was going to open that show. And he was telling me, like, he was texting me saying, like, "Oh, I'm excited for you to see this," because I hadn't actually seen the show once it actually went out on the road. And so his big moment, he's playing in this arena. Um, and I can't remember the casino, but anyway, so something happened where, again, full arena. Um, so something happened. They all had their ear monitors in, so they're up there singing, playing. They hear themselves. They're entertaining. Something happens in the PA. The PA is not on whatsoever. So those guys are up in front of all these people, and they're just going for it, man. Like full performing. Matt's up there just singing. Nothing's coming out. But in their ears, they were hearing everything. So they had no idea that was happening. It was a brutal thing to watch. But they figured it out. I think he actually grabbed an acoustic once the manager told him that he, just kind of played by himself, and he won the audience over. But
Well,
even at that level, still bad, still rough.
you get those magical moments, and the magical moments are the ones that come from the worst places,
Oh
right?
yeah,
When things go wrong. I can't remember the name of the girl right now, and she's still out there, and she's still got a couple of songs. But we had her at Clos Chance, right? The little winery you played at, right?
yeah.
Here. And there was a big traffic accident where somebody ran over a traffic pole. So we lost power.
Mm.
She went down and got in the middle of the crowd and sang her song while everybody drove around her. And it's still the most talked about thing we've ever done. And
That's
it
it.
all happened because the moment presented itself and it gave her a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, oh wow. And it
You
is.
don't get those kind of opportunities when they happen. Not opportunities. Like it's scary at the time, but unless you're playing clubs and playing gigs all the time, you wouldn't know to do that. So that's the importance of just getting out there and playing, 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 playing. Because if it was just suddenly she got famous on TikTok, she wouldn't have had that understanding to go out there and win them over that way. It's playing in clubs, playing, in front of 15 people. That gives you that experience.
What's it like the first time you stood in front of 20,000 people? What was that
Uh,
like? I mean, I can't even imagine.
It was well, I never got to do it with the ranch in the '90s. We got to play some festivals, but they would always have us at 11 a.m. or noon. Um, so we never got to see those kind of crowds. We we did get to open for Brooks and Dunn a couple times at the very end of the band, which was awesome because Brooks and Dunn were just so nice to us. Um, that was exciting, but they weren't like they didn't know any of our music at that point, so it wasn't like they were like going crazy. So the first time was after the Ranch broke up. I joined the Dixie Chicks tour, and that was the first time I experienced people going crazy like that. That many people going crazy.
Yeah, for your act. and you're not the opening
Yes.
act.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
ranch, we've talked about it before, and I assume you're what. Well, I can't say that. A lot of people watch this because they know you have the country music background and they want to learn more about it. But the ranch is this legendary band that will become a cult status. It will,
Mm.
and as time goes on, I'm not kidding you. People talk about the ranch the way you do about legendary cult movies.
Yeah.
Just that way. The Cadillac Three are on their way of being that way,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
Midland is the same thing. I think you
Hmm.
guys are going to be these cult mythical figures
Yeah.
because you were doing something that nobody else was doing. So when you hear us talk about the ranch, you need to go listen to ranch music. You need to go
Yeah.
and just
And the stories that I've heard from different people in this town that saw us playing in a small bar, Jack's Guitar Bar, this little tiny place on Nolensville Road is gone now, but that became like a scene. We would just play this little bar every week, and then suddenly the word got out. And I remember one night looking out. Speaking of Olivia Newton-John, she was standing in line outside to get in this little bar, and then Brooks and Dunn also. So Brooks and Dunn sat on the floor right in front of us. These guys were already full on stars at this point. They sat on the floor right in front of the wedges, looking up at me and Keith and Pete. It just because it became that thing that everyone had to come see us. We sold, 16 records, but but live we were pretty cool.
well, and it forged that relationship. It forged
Yeah,
that thing. It's like I told my son about he's playing tackle football for the first time ever, right, this year. And he's first started playing, and he's like, "Oh, it's okay." And then about a couple of months into it, he goes, "Dad, I love football." And I said, "Really? What do you love about it?" He goes, "It's so hard." He goes, "Because it hurts and the practices are hard and we have so many practices and then we have to have all of our schoolwork done and it's just so hard and nobody knows how hard it is except every other guy on the team."
right. Yeah, yeah. You have that
And I
together.
said, "Sweetheart," I said, "that's why you see people who played football together, friends 30, 40 years down the line." I said, "I
Yeah,
played basketball, right? I played basket. I don't have any contact with the guys I played basketball
right.
with.
Yeah, yeah.
We weren't in that forged in steel moment.
Sure. Yeah,
And you
yeah.
guys were in that forged in
Mhm.
steel moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll always have that. Yeah,
And
no
it's
matter what.
it had to be. It was such a great ride. And listen, we're not gonna ignore the elephant in the room. And one of the things, because I know how much you love Keith, and I know how much
Yeah,
Keith loves you.
yeah,
There's no doubt about it. There's none
yeah,
about it whatsoever. But okay, so this year you decided to go in a different direction after 25 years.
yeah.
I mean, and as you and I were chatting weeks ago, and I said, "Man, if anybody understands what a force change is like on you, I'm your boy. I'm your
You
boy."
get that. Yeah.
But I also told you it will end up being such a cool thing. But the moment,
Yeah. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. We'll see.
it,
Yeah, it was a surprise. It was a big shock, to be honest. Yeah.
and it was, it was a big shock to be with the same guy for 25 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Because that's not something you do. I always tell everybody because they're like, how have you stayed, you know, 35, 40 years at the same station? And my response is always, I'm the best they can afford.
Yeah, I mean it's been a tough month because we this last run because in the '90s we were together for 5 years and then I went to the Dixie Chicks and played with the Counting Crows and then I came back and so this year's my 20th year back so I did 20 more years with him so 25 total and it was a surprise that when he called me I was having a really good day because I was writing with Matt Ramsey and Trevor Rosen from Old Dominion
Yeah.
and with Jordan Reynolds, a great producer and writer. And we had already finished a song when Keith called me and told me. Then we were kind of halfway through a second song. So he told me, and I was like, it was a shock. But then I went back upstairs and we finished the second song. So it was a productive day. But yeah, I didn't see it coming. And it's uh, uh, it's tough because I still loved it so much. But like at the end of all this, this is his. it's his show, and so he just wants to try something different. And I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people want me to say something bad. I had like a gossip magazine guy calling me. I didn't even respond to them, and they came to my house. They went to my ex-wife's house. Uh, I think they want me to say something bad. But truth is, I'm the reason I'm not going to say something bad is I got nothing bad to say about the man. Like he's a good man, a really good man. Everybody that works for him or is in his orbit completely respects him and loves him because he is a good man. He treated me with absolute respect for all those years, as he did with everybody. He's just a really, really good person to be around. So, it's as painful as it is. I just have to accept and move forward and see what's next, which I don't know.
Well, here's my take on it because I've been doing it a zillion years, and I'm not going to say anything bad, not at all. What I will say, and I'll say it to you, and I haven't said it to you before, your chapter's not closed with him yet. He's going to try.
That's what people say. Well, yeah, people say.
Yeah, he's going to try something new because he's the same thing. You're constantly trying him what he's doing, But at some point, he's going to sit back and go, I need my boy. That's what I need.
Yeah.
And that's where anybody who's been doing this for any amount of time, we're all like, okay, well, for now.
Right. That's what I hear. Like Tolly Kennedy from Jason Aldean's band, he called me immediately, and then Lee Hendricks from Eric Church's band called me immediately, and both bass players, and they just couldn't believe it. And Tolly, I've talked to him so much in the last couple of weeks, and he keeps saying the same thing. Like he's probably going to call you back at some point. I can't depend on that, obviously. Like if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, we'll still be friends. When I see him, it'll still be friendly. I don't feel anger towards him, and but I just got to figure out this next chapter. The songwriting is going really well, which is odd. I've got his new radio single, Keith's new radio single, so a little bittersweet there. So the writing's great, and I'll continue to do that. But just trying to figure out my next move. Do I want to tour again as a bass player? Do I want to? Yeah, I would love to do more of the songwriter shows, like that where I met you. That was just so much fun, and I think I really want to do more of those. So,
and you're so good at it, and your songwriting is going better than really well.
No,
I mean, you are a force in Nashville. You are a go-to guy. Right.
I appreciate that.
Well, you are. I'm not trying to say anything nice. I'm just saying.
It's funny when I don't feel that way because, and I don't think any writer feels that way. I mean, Ashley Gorley maybe, but I don't even think he feels that way. He still feels like he's fighting. It's just you just are always trying to get people to listen to something, and so it doesn't feel like, oh, I've arrived. It feels like you're still just going for it. So, but when I look, at these things behind me, I go, oh, okay. I rarely ever come into this room, so I forget, so maybe I need to come in here more often, just hang out,
Well, you do, it's the whole thing about the gap in the game. I remember reading that book, and the whole thing about it is if you keep looking forward, trying to get where you're going.
Yeah.
Every you got to turn around and look back and go, I am from a small town in West Virginia.
Yeah.
I am, my God, there were 10,000 things that could have happened to keep me from moving forward.
Yeah.
And yet it didn't. And can you want to throw some luck and fate in there? Yeah. But as I always tell guys when I play golf with them and they're really good and they'll hit a shot and they'll go, that was lucky. And I'm like, I've noticed that the better you are, the luckier you get.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get that luck. That I'm not at that skill level. At Reed Animal Hospital, they treat your pet as if it was their own. Now, I'm a very satisfied customer. I can tell you they mean that. It's not a chain. It truly is about helping you and your pet enjoy life together. Dr. David Reed and his entire staff take the time to get to know you and your pet. I can tell you what I like. He's helped me better understand what my dog Luna needs and how I can take care of her more efficiently and kindly. Find them online at reedanimalhospital.com. 2 locations, Saratoga and Campbell. Little secret from me to you, Dr. Reed actually gives you his cell number so he can answer your questions and concerns. They really are committed to you and your pet. ReedAnimalHospital.com.
I'm with Mike and Brenda Council with another real Mike Council plumbing and rooter story. And let's talk about the early days. What was it like?
Well, when we first started, the phone was by the bed.
So just the two of you.
Exactly.
And I would answer the emergency
She'd
calls
answer
in the middle of the night. I'd wake up and answer them.
2:00, I'm headed out the door.
So 30 years ago.
30 years and 6 months.
But I hear Mike Council Plumbing might have had its beginnings when you were, what, a kid?
Yeah, I grew up in a little one-room shack, and we had an outhouse out back.
An outhouse?
That's correct.
Oh, my.
And ended up with a great appreciation for indoor plumbing.
Yeah, I guess. And when you finally got it?
It was a great day.
Since 1993, the people of San Jose and the South Bay have trusted Mike Council Plumbing and Rooter for all their plumbing needs. From emergencies like a drain backup or water leak, maybe you need a new water heater or fixture installed, a gas appliance hooked up. Give Mike Council a call at 408-217-1002 or go to mcplumbing.com, an official partner of the San Jose Sharks.
You're in clean hands with Mike Council Plumbing and Rooter.
Okay, when you write a song with Sam Hunt, just to name some, Ken Folks, out, the outskirts.
Outskirts. Yeah.
Okay, Sam Hunt is such an idiosyncratic writer who's so zoomed in on what he does, and he's so protective of how he sounds. And for him to go, now I'm gonna write some of my biggest songs to Jerry Flowers. That's what I'm gonna do. That's not opinion. That's fact.
Well, okay, that's good. That's good to know. I just saw I've got a new date with him coming up next month, so that's great because I haven't seen him in a long time because he takes long periods of time in between writes. So when I saw that, I thought, well, okay, I guess he still likes me. That's good. So, but you're right. Yeah, and I'm very thankful about that. And I'm. It's fun too because I'm getting to write with all these new artists, and sometimes that can be hard because you think, oh, we don't know where they're going to be, if the record's going to come out. But some of the talent I wrote with that young cat Dalton Dover on Monday.
Yeah,
have you heard him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, the dude can sing.
I'm saying. You see some of these kids, and I have no idea, and nobody in Nashville has no idea of who's going to make it or not. Right? No. I mean, there have been people that I'm like, I swear this has to be the biggest star on the planet. They are going to be, where'd they go?
Right.
And you're 2004, room with Chris Stapleton, and you're going, how are you not?
Yeah.
You just
I don't get it either. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember
people ask me advice about that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
I was sitting in a room. We were at station one time, and Kenny Chesney was in the back room. And this was before Kenny Chesney was Kenny Chesney. He just would literally, when he was in town, walk in the station, and we'd be like, "Hey," and he'd just come back and hang with us. And we're sitting in the office, and he was talking about trying to figure out how to get to the next level. And I looked at him and I laughed. I said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Because if I did know, I'd be in a hell of a lot bigger office talking to a hell of a lot bigger star than you."
That's true. There's no rhyme or reason. I mean, obviously, work, you have to work. You have to go for it. Kenny and Keith and Luke and all those dudes, Jason Aldean. Aldean is one of those cats that he played so many shows because I've known those guys in the band for years. And Danny Rader, who toured with us for years, was in Aldean's original band. And those cats would be gone 300 and some days a year, every single year. Show, whatever it took, he was there. If it was a free show, club show, whatever, he was there. And that's why he got to that point. But you still have to have a little bit of luck too, but you have to put that work in. I wish I knew what it was because I would sign somebody and, make all the money. But I don't know.
You talk about somebody who gets it though. Aldean is legendary for picking the opening acts.
Yeah.
I mean, he has picked every big artist in the world as his opening act. And I remember having to talk with him one time, and I'm like, "How in the world do you do that?" And he goes, "I have a big whiteboard." He goes, "I track everybody."
Really?
He goes, "Big whiteboard, and I'll have anywhere between 10 and 20 people up there, and I'll track how they're doing and what they're doing and what songs I like and what this and that." And I'm like, wow. And that's when you started realizing, see, kids, that's next level. This is Jim's he's not only worried about his career, he's worried about your career and how it's going to push his career. I mean,
Yeah. No, they're smart. Those that level, because Keith is the same way, where he's always picked great opening acts over the years, and so many of them, like Carrie Underwood, did her first thing with us, and Miranda Lambert's first big tour, I think, was with us, and uh, Taylor Swift, when she was really young, she was opening for us. He would give those people those kind of opportunities, but at the same time, like, you're helping yourself too. Chesney he's the best at it. But yeah, Aldean, it's almost like they're looking at it like game tape, like yeah. So they're good. They're not there for no reason.
well, and you just don't know. I when people change the paradigm, right? You can say, hey, I just wrote a column about how Jelly Roll and Luke Combs have changed the paradigm on what you look like, right? Someone came up to you 10 years ago and said, hey, Jer, one of our biggest stars is going to be a 400-pound overweight ex-convict with tattoos on his face.
No.
And you would have just laughed because it would have been such an inane statement.
Okay.
And the next level is, well, we start applying that to the females because we're not there yet. And I hope we do.
Right.
Where we will get there to where it's like, okay, now we've gotten some kind of equity in that. But I will say, talk about changing the paradigm. Morgan Wallen has just broken the way anybody ever thought to in the music industry.
Oh yeah.
And you've worked with him. You've got songs with him. And this kid, who in the world saw that?
I wrote with him before his first record came out. I didn't know anything about him. It was with him and a songwriter named Jamie Moore. And when he came in, we were hanging for a while. And he was telling us about, he had a baseball scholarship and that kind of stuff. So he was just brand new. But as soon as he sang, I was like, well, who are you? Because his voice was like that back then too. To me, in my opinion, people have a lot of opinions about the cat. If it's personal or what, I don't know. The only thing that I've ever seen of him is he's a super nice guy. But that was my experience. But musically, what he's doing in country music right now, to me, he's the best. He's the best out there.
Not only the best, but you know how big of a deal you got to be to have. And you and I, we're, like I said, we're old school. We came into this a long time ago. Remember, you would get 1, 2, 3 releases a year, maybe. That's how many songs the record companies would release. Morgan Wallen do that in a week.
No, but if he's the only one, because everybody else, if they put out a single, it could take a year, and he could have 3, 4 singles. Because those days of having 4 or 5 number ones on a record, they seem kind of gone now, because radio takes longer to I don't know why, but for some reason he can have 3 or 4. He's just moving the needle.
As I said, he's changing the way you do it. I mean, it's fascinating. And again, that's the, like I said, I love you, Chief. And I love the fact, I love to point out to you, that's the sphere you're in. That's the orbit. Yeah. That you are, you worry about being relevant in this business. You always worry about, right? And the business will tell you whether you're not. Here you're sitting there telling me about this girl that I haven't heard of yet, right? And you're working with her, and yet you're also working with Morgan Wallen and Sam Hunt and Al Dean's still on your list. I mean, and that's just so much fun. And when you go into it, because I saw that you always kind of told yourself the tempo is where that's your sweet spot.
That's what I do. Mm-hmm.
And as hard as well as I do, it's so, again, you know it better than I do, and never be afraid to correct me. All right. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Okay.
It has always been my assertion that writing an up-tempo song is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Seems like it. Most people don't like doing it. It's what I do naturally. I think it's all these years on touring with Keith, because he was a master of tempos, and we just saw crowds how they react to them. You think, well, why wouldn't you want a lot of these? And so the Morgan Wallen cut that I had on his last record, was not just a tempo. It was probably my fastest I've ever written. Really, really quick. And that was the fastest cut I've ever gotten in my career, too. I think it was maybe a week or two after we wrote it. It got to him. He heard it and he recorded it like about a week and a half later. So, and hearing
That's
his
not
voice
bad.
on something, woo.
You know, the crazy thing about to me when Morgan Wallen is when you do hear his voice, it's not like it doesn't knock you over. Stapleton knocks you over. Carrie
yeah.
Underwood knocks you over, right? Morgan doesn't knock you over on the first time,
Mm.
but you still aren't tired of hearing him on the 50th time.
Not me. I never get tired of it. And he can sing anything. He sounds great. But the great thing about what he does too is he knows songs. And so he's not just, you know, he's not just, you know, just putting a bunch of one or two great songs and a bunch of crap on the rest of it. Every single song is great. Dangerous, that record, there's not one song that's not incredible. Every single song. So he's really, really good with that stuff too. That's why he's here. That's why he's here.
Well, that's the thing that it's I could go down so many rabbit holes with you because it's just so much fun because you've had so much experience with these people and you and we have a lot of the same people we know, and it's just fun to see. You know, I always tell everybody, I will not tell you stories that will make you look bad at someone. I won't.
Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you about somebody, and I have different. I remember somebody, and I learned this lesson. There's somebody that I'd never had a good experience with. And this guy was at my house. He was doing something, fixing it. Right. And he goes, "Oh, I love so and so." And I was like, "Huh." And you could just see he was like, "What?" And I started trying to explain it genteelly. And then it was like, "What in the world are you doing?"
Yeah.
That performer has earned that guy's love and dedication.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no right to take that away from him. And
Yeah,
so
that's
I've
true.
learned, I'll go, "Hey, cool, awesome, good for you, great song."
I literally had this conversation with somebody I was writing with a few weeks ago as a new artist. We were talking about the music business. And I was saying, like, you know, when I was growing up, you always hear these stories about how the music business is filled with sharks. And it's like, it's just the worst people. They're all trying to take advantage of you. It's like, I've been here 32 years, 33. Yeah, 33. I don't experience that. Almost every single person that I know in the music business, they're just great and they love being there. And I got a call. I talked to Chris Lacey, who's now the president of Warner Records, last week. And when you're talking to her, you're not thinking this is the president. She's just a great person. Just an awesome person. She loves music. So I personally have not experienced any of that. You know, there's some people you think, oh, they're not super fun to be around, but that's rare. That's rare. I think the ones that do succeed, that's a big part of succeeding in this business too, is especially touring. I mean, you're only on stage an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, sometimes 40 minutes if you're the opening act. You're in that bus with them all the rest of the time. You have to be a good guy. So most people that are jerks, they just don't make it in this business because you have to be a fun hang. You have to be a good person to be around. And I think that's the same with the label people too and management. It's like you have to be a good person, or I think you get weeded out. You know.
Now you can be as idiosyncratic as you want to, and I'll give you two words: Billy Currington. He is as idiosyncratic as you will ever meet. Billy going to surf. That's what Billy going to do.
Yeah.
And you know, I imagine a day where I would just like to watch him and Kip Moore surf, and then Kip would take the afternoon off and go climb a mountain. That's what they
both
do.
Yeah, they are their own dudes, both of them. Yeah. And I know Kip much better than Billy. I've gotten to know Billy some with touring, and you know I had a hit on him.
Yep. Do I make you wanna?
Yeah, and he, to me again, like he was such a nice guy to me. You know, you hear all these stories because he's not a bad guy at all. He's just in his own world. He's doing his own thing, and he's original. But sometimes that scares people a little bit. But you got people talking about him. The dude is good too.
He's good, and he doesn't try to be the biggest star. He
Nope.
doesn't.
Mm-mm.
He knows his role, and he just wants to surf, y'all. That's all he wants to do, and he's going to make enough money, and he's going to do that. And he does that. I remember the first time I met him. I'll tell you a story. First time I met him, he had a pen, and I walk up, and he's doing this. He's taking the pen and putting it between his eyes. He's just bringing his hands up and eyes. And you sat there, and you're watching somebody do this, and you're like, "Well, this is different." And I'm like, hey, and he's very nice and stuff like that. I'm like, so what's going on? He goes, helps me focus.
Really? I mean, he's kind of got the ultimate career because, like you said, he can tour, play throughout the summer, make some money, have a great living, an incredible singer. But then he goes out and just lives his own life, and he doesn't care about constantly being at all the award shows, that kind of stuff. He just kind of does his own thing.
Yeah, and there you go. And you could do it if you get a big enough star. You can be Morgan Wallen. I don't know if we'll ever see Morgan Wallen on an award show again.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know. And kudos to him for saying this is where I'm going. And again, I love that he said it. It's that own person, and he's falling into that vein.
Some of these massive, the biggest stars, some of them don't connect in that award show world. Like Toby Keith, did you ever see him winning awards? Nope. I mean, the guy behind you, Dirk Bentley, you don't see him at winning all the awards. Incredible career, incredible. That guy right there, I can see him behind you.
Yeah,
he was one of the first people to text me after I put out the little Instagram message about me not being with Keith. He just texted me out of the blue saying the nicest stuff. He's such a good man. And we saw him from the very beginning because he was on Capitol with the same label as Keith. And he's the same dude he was then as he is now. Just a good man. But that meant a lot to me. Yeah.
I love Dirk Bentley. Always have. And I tell you, because my kids laugh because they'll go, Dad, do you know? And then I always have a story, right? Because I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, sure.
And my son, I was at the ACMs in Vegas, and they used to have the whole Radio Row thing where you'd go back there and people would come in, you'd talk to them and stuff like that. And Dirks was sitting there with me, and we're getting ready to record. And my son was playing soccer back home, and he was about eight years old. And it was at a tournament, and my wife had sent me video, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's sitting there, we're waiting to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he goes, what? And I said, my wife just sent me a video. He goes, let's watch. And we sat there and watched, and he starts telling me he's going through the same thing. And we just went on and on. And it's because he cared. He didn't have to. He honestly wanted to know what was happening in my life.
Yeah.
And every time I talk to him, talk about you, that's a great point. He's in that Billy Currington vein. Yeah. Hey, well, I'm gonna move to Colorado so I can ride mountain bikes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty great career, to be honest. That's the ones you want.
And it is without the pressure of staying up there. Now, listen, my buddy, I asked you for an hour, and that's all I'm going to take from you. But I will ask you to do this with me again when you have time. Because I always loved chatting with you and always loved hanging out and as I said before, this is going to end up being so cool for you. You have no idea. I was because I do everything from my home studio now. And my son asked me this the other day. He goes, do you miss radio? The terrestrial radio. And I said, there's some days I really miss it about the immediacy of it. And I said, but here's what you need to know. I don't know if I go back because what replaced it was so much cooler.
And that's what I'm curious about.
So much deeper. And it's given me all these other things that I would never have had the opportunity to do.
Yeah. You never know. That I'm excited about that. A songwriter named Josh Jenkins texted me this morning. Josh is awesome. He's just incredible. And Matt Jenkins is his brother. They've written a bunch of Jordan Davis hits. And he just texted me out of the blue saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. You're on my mind today. I just want you to know I'm thinking about you." But he didn't know. So I said, "Oh yeah, thanks, man. It's been a hard month." He goes, "What do you mean it's been a hard month?" So when he texted me that, he had no idea that what I went through, which was awesome. Such a good man. Uh, but I told him, I was like trying to think of new things to do, trying to figure out new avenues. And I said, the first thing I got to do is uh, I'm going to check if OnlyFans has a dad bod section, and if that's the case, because if they do, I'm going to make some money. If dad bods are in on OnlyFans, I'm going to make some dough. So,
You guys can get trim figures.
So I did tell I have two young daughters, 3 and 5, and so I told them the day after, that Keith called me. I told him what was happening. I said, Dad's not gonna be going on any more long trips. I'm not gonna be playing on stage anymore. And they just both went, yay, and then move on to whatever Paw Patrol episode we're watching. So yeah, they were excited about that. We'll see. I still loved playing. I've said to other people in the past too. I said if the gig ever ended with Keith, I would probably not tour again, because it didn't get much better than that. The way he treated us, the way he treated like all his band, the way we traveled, it was the best. And so I might not. I mean, if Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam, if he decides to retire, maybe I'll do that. Foo Fighters, people like that, something like that. Those kind of things. Brian Adams, those kind of things. But I don't know. I don't know where it's going to lead. I'm just gonna. I'm acting like I'm being cool with it, saying like, "Oh, I'll just ride the wave." I'm really texting my brother and my mom, like, I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day, like waking up going like, what am I going to do? So I'm not as cool as what I'm coming off right now.
No, I get you. I get you 100%, because I was the same way. Right. And it was one of those things where you're like, now what? And then, and stuff like that. But yeah, one of the things I texted you, when I said, you'll find out, same thing I did. It's the old Rascal Flatts song. Life has been patiently waiting for me. And it will, that you'll get that in all this different things. And when you look back on it 10 years from now, I'm going to say, hey, Jer, wasn't it the perfect time? Because at 3 and 5, they don't really know when you're gone.
No, yeah.
But they're going to grow up knowing you're here.
Yeah. Woo.
And feel free to write that. Feel free to write that.
Oh, let me write that down. Yeah.
Write that long, and you don't have to give me any credit. Just that's you.
But now it's on here. Then you'll have proof that you can go back. No, I've kidding. That's great. That's a good title.
That song. Just put my GaryScottThomas.com on the back behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be an interesting year. I'm gonna be writing a ton. I've already written a bunch in the last month, and I think I'm going to be coming out to see you again.
You are. Summer. We've already locked that in. So when you get back here, we'll do all this in person. And I'll make that happen. And yeah, we'll.
I think George Walker is going to be there. Yeah.
If you weren't here last time, I got him a date. Is what I did.
That's true.
I got the date.
I did go. I went on a lunch date. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
Ladies, he's single and ready to mingle.
No, I'm not very good at this. I have no interest, to be honest, but I'm just trying to keep my head above water right now. But
that was a one-time offer during that year, right? Yeah. I'm just saying it was a one-time offer, and we did that, and we had fun with it. But no, when you come out,
I did get a good lunch out of it though, so that was nice.
Remember you telling me she was a very nice person, and you guys ended up having fun and talked, and it was never, you were never going to be here, and it was never going to be anything other than that, but it was just fun to connect with that. And so that's what that worked out, but it was fun. And my friend, the next time we do this, because we could go, you mentioned Jordan Davis, we're going to go all these down. I mean, how about that of a career silently turning into a superstar?
I know.
Down that. We'll go down that route next time.
We've got so many stories, so many things to talk about. I'm in anytime you want. I'm in.
Dude, yeah, don't threaten me with a good time. I will fly you in any time, any place. Love you, my brother.
I love you, man. And I'll try to think of something bad to say about somebody next time, like to make it more interesting, maybe. But uh, I'll make up some stories, you know?
No, you can talk about this bad club owner, right? Or something like that. Because I'm sure you guys have had that with bars. Even then, that your bar story where the guy just goes, "Oh, you can go home." And,
Oh, no, we had a lot of those, man. We had a lot of crazy gigs like that.
oh, and you'll tell me, yeah, and you still not touched on all your Australia stories. So we're gonna go.
Oh, I've got some good ones there. Real good ones. Yeah. I'm going to check. Do you have time for one?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. So I was talking to someone about this.
I'm worried about.
Okay. Yeah. I'm actually going to go see Old Dominion tonight at the Ryman, what I'm super excited about.
Nice.
But so what that we had our manager at the time, Greg Shaw, Australian, awesome guy. He was one of those cats that had just ideas, like trying to get us noticed, you know? And so we were in this little town, working in this little town called Tamworth in Australia. And that's like their country music capital, Tamworth is. And country music is just now getting big there, but then was not. So Tamworth was the place to go to play. And so the manager, Greg Shaw, had this idea for us to play at the airport, the Tamworth airport. So he got us set up. We actually got to, because we were a trio, we were small, set up on the baggage claim turnstile. So we're up there really real tight playing the baggage claim turnstile. So there's flights coming in and people, we get this audience coming up and then we're playing, don't do whatever the song is, you know, and then halfway through a song, that little red light would go, bah, 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 and then everyone's luggage would come out. And literally the luggage is coming out around us. We're on that turnstile. And then the crowd would get their bags and leave, and suddenly it's empty again. And then the next flight would come in, more people would come and play, we play for them. Same thing would happen. And we did that all day long. I don't know if anybody took pictures well, they wouldn't have taken video back then probably, but that would have been funny to see some video of that. But those are the kind of gigs we did. Like we did everything.
Oh man, I remember growing up going to the the Floribama, which is legendary now, right? Floribama Lounge. But when we were growing up, it was called the Bloody Bucket. It was called the Floribama, but nobody ever called it the Floribama. It was literally called the Bloody Bucket.
Oh,
and you can understand why it was called the Bloody Bucket, because it was nothing but fights and blood on the floor, and they'd mop up the floor and you'd have a bloody bucket.
All right.
and it still had chicken wire on the stage.
Really?
So when you back and you see the Blues Brothers and they're throwing the thing, that happened. I saw that, right? And it was, and you would go, why would anybody ever play here? And I remember talking to that, and one of my buddies that we were like, well, they make $20. Everybody in the band makes $20. And I'm like, wow. And that's when I realized music's hard.
It's hard, but it's awesome too. Even at the lowest level, when you're still getting to do it, it's still an absolute gift to be able to do it, you know? It doesn't seem like that at the time, but when you look back on it, you go, oh, okay, that's what trained me for this.
That's what we talked about, is turning around and going, okay, how far have I come? Where, it's where we also get caught up in where am I going, but you have to turn around like that room right there and have it make you go, yeah, that's what we're doing. This is some of the stuff. I've got all of this. And that's just a small, I know you could cover every inch of that wall in those.
I've got more over here on this side. So,
and the other side, you cover every inch on that wall in those shadow boxes. Got my mind.
Well, the great thing about when you have a number one song is lots of different companies give you plaques. So the more, like, you can have 50 plaques and you don't have 50 number ones, but you look like you do. So, but no, this is actually, that's pretty interesting. I never come into this room. I should, but I should just come in and remind myself, oh, things are going all right. When I'm in that state, in that scared kind of state, like what next? Like I need to come in here.
Here's my take: is the good Lord puts us where every day He puts us where we need to be, right?
Yeah.
And today He puts you. My job was to get you into that room. That was my job. Everything else is superfluous because my job was just to get you there so you could turn around and take a look.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate it. Yeah. See, now I feel pretty good. And now I'm going to go see Old Dominion, one of the best bands.
And I'll give you about one quick Old Dominion story. My favorite song from Old Dominion is Written in the Sand, right? I've always sat back and laughed that I sit back and go, if they ever make a movie of my life and they do that montage movie where they have, Matthew McConaughey will obviously portray me, driving around, doing all the stuff, being contemplative, that's the song that they need to have doing that. And I was telling that to Shane McAnally, who, was there on that. And I said, this song is so great. He goes, you know why that song's great? And I said, no. And he goes, the silence. I'm like, what? He goes, dun, 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 dun. He goes, we didn't fill it in.
All right. Yeah, because you always want to put riffs in between.
And he goes, it's the silence. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so much smarter than me.
Man, the first time I wrote with Brad Tersey, the guitar player.
Yeah.
That was years ago. It was before I knew those guys. And then I found out, he told me he was in that band. And then I listened to him and I realized, wait, he's not the lead singer because Brad Tersey's an incredible singer. It was like, he's the second singer. And then you meet Trevor Rosen, who I've become really good friends with. It's like, how is this possible that you have these three, complete A-level songwriters in one band, And the bass player, Jeff, is just awesome. Like the drummer's great. They're just one of those rare bands, but that shocked me. Brad is the second best singer in the band.
Then you hear Matthew.
Yes.
Right.
Oh.
Then you hear it and you go, okay, I get it. I understand. You can see why Brad went, no, you sing this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see them because I've only seen them live once. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina, because Jordan Davis, his people hired me to help him put a show together for his first headline, the big club tour. And so I went to Charlotte to see Jordan because Jordan was open for them. And that was the first time seeing Old Dominion. And I remember just watching the audience, because I watch the audience a lot more than the bands, just to see what their reaction is. And it was just pure joy. And to me, that when I saw them that night, to me, they were like the Eagles to me, because 20 years from now, they'll still be playing because their music is timeless. It's not like it doesn't fit like what's happening right now. They're just great songs, timeless songs. So I'm excited to see the show tonight.
Yeah, I told Matthew the same thing. I said, man, when you write a song that's a hit that nobody knows the words to, I said, my sons will go, I was on a boat that day. Bibbidi-bee-bop, ba-ba-da-ba-da-bee-bop. I'm like, what are the best hits? Well, no. Don't know, don't care. Ba-ba-da-bee-bop.
Well, so good, man. This was fun.
Dude, this was awesome. Thank you.